Hi, I'm David Gotrik, and I am the Chief Cryptologist here at AgilePQ. Today I'm here to talk to you about post-quantum data security. So over the past about 20, 30 years, quantum computers are being developed, brought out from the research labs into actual practice. Many companies such as Google, Rigetti, Microsoft, and others are working on these computers. And recently, Google achieved what was called quantum supremacy, and that's the ability for a quantum computer to perform a calculation more efficiently than a classical computer. So what does this mean? Quantum computers are machines that are specialized to perform certain calculations much more efficiently than your classical counterparts. So what this allows them to do is solve certain hard problems in a much quicker manner than anything on the classical computer. This has quite some implications for the field of cryptography. Most of the cryptography that we're using today relies on a certain class of hard problems known as integer factorization, the discrete logarithm problem, and quantum computers are able to find the answers to these problems very efficiently. So that means that all of the cryptography that we're using today is threatened by these computers. So quantum supremacy, the thing that Google achieved recently, this means that this is kind of the point where a quantum computer was able to do in just a few minutes what a classical computer might take 1,000 years to complete. And this has implications because the more quantum computers are developed, the better the error correction gets, and the more it kind of comes out of the lab into practice, very similarly hard problems will be solved just as easily. So these hard problems are what underlie the classical cryptography that we're using today. And so this means that the security we rely on today will be broken in minutes with the advent of quantum computers. So two of the big algorithms that you hear about in the context of quantum computing and cryptography is Grover's algorithm and Shor's algorithm. And Shor's algorithm is one that threatens a lot of the key exchange type methods that we use today, such as RSA and Diffie-Hellman. This algorithm allows for quantum computers to quickly solve things like factoring an integer into its prime components, or solving other types of hard problems. And the other algorithm is Grover's algorithm. And what Grover's algorithm is a search space reduction algorithm. So this kind of threatens more of the symmetric cryptography and hashing algorithms that we use today, and it lowers their security level quite significantly. So the symmetric ciphers that we're using today, such as AES, those are threatened by Grover's algorithm. And with Grover's and Shor's algorithm, we can dive deeper into those in future episodes. Just at a high level, those are kind of the two big research problems that people are looking at in terms of applying those towards cryptography. People might wonder why we need to care about quantum or post-quantum cryptography today, and there's a few reasons. The first is the amount of time it takes for the industry to transition to a new technology. Traditionally, NIST has noted it takes about 15 years from the day people start to the day that it's widely adopted. And if we start today, then by the time it's feasible for quantum computers to regularly break these types of things, then we should be ready for that time. So there's a lot of speculation about when quantum computers will be able to feasibly break the cryptography that we're using today. Some estimates are as early as 5 years. Others are around 10, maybe 15 years. And what that means is that the time that they're ready to start breaking what we're using, the industry will not yet be transitioned to the post-quantum cryptography. So what that means is if an adversary or an intelligence agency is gathering all of the data that we're using today that's going across our networks, then that data will be accessible in a much shorter time frame. On one hand, you have the estimate of when quantum computers are feasible to break cryptography, which might be within the near future. And then you have the time frame of how long data is valuable. And then you also have typically how long it takes for the industry to move. And if the industry doesn't move quick enough, that means that data will be vulnerable for some time, and it's going to be opened or accessible before that data is no longer valuable. And what this creates is a problem of privacy and secrecy, meaning that the data you think is protected in private is no longer protected in private. And that can have implications across industries, with intellectual property, personal data, government and military applications. And so what needs to happen is the transition needs to begin now so that we don't put ourselves in the position of basically losing our secrets or exposing our privacy in the near term. The other issue that comes up is the Internet of Things. And the Internet of Things is a unique problem because these processors or these devices are typically very constrained devices. They have very little amount of memory and computational power. They're typically battery powered, and they can be hard to update, but they're also not able to perform the heavy duty cryptography that might be used on a desktop or server machine. So what this means is that we need to start thinking about how to implement lightweight post-quantum security on these IoT devices, because IoT devices typically are deployed for 10, 15 years or more, especially in the automotive or industrial space. So putting post-quantum security into IoT now will kind of prevent the problem of them being exposed in the future when quantum computers are more feasible. There is a real problem facing the crypto world and the IoT world, and with quantum computers coming out, there has to be some movement today to kind of get us prepared for that day when they are here and they are actually able to attack what we're using. And the standards bodies are working on standardizing some number of algorithms, and there are quite a few candidates, and some candidates are better than others, and every candidate has some sort of trade-off, whether it's the size of the key or how much bandwidth they need or some other parameter of that mechanism. And what this will probably mean is that the standards bodies are going to standardize on some selection of possible candidates. So it's not going to be like in the 90s where everybody just settled on AES. It's going to be, here are your options and choose some. So there are companies such as AgilePQ that were taking those candidates and kind of evaluating their trade-offs and implementing them based on the need of that device in whatever environment it's in. So certain devices might operate over cellular, which is a different operating landscape than, say, a Sigfox or a LoRaWAN or one of the low-power networks, which is also a little bit different than your Bluetooth low energy, which is also different from your Wi-Fi networks. And the different types of devices maybe have different availability or different capabilities in terms of hardware acceleration. So there are companies such as ours that are adapting the cryptography that's coming up in the post-quantum world into real-life scenarios. And what that means is that we're able to do today what we're going to need to have done come the future. So you might ask what you can do today. I think everybody needs to kind of evaluate the cryptography that they're using, look at the different scenarios, look at, if you're a device manufacturer, how long are your devices going out in the field, what cryptography are you going to use, can you update it, different kind of things that you have to think about in order to prevent a security disaster in the future. So thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. And if you like it, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.